Hello and welcome to my channel. It's December the 29th 2024 today. We are having a lovely sunny winter's day. The winter's been good so far. The plants are doing really well, and I thought I'd have a little look around the garden and talk about some changes I want to make ready for next year. I'm really excited to get back into the garden and get on with some future plans, so let's get on with it. So for those of you that have watched my channel in the past and seen my garden in the height of summer and previous winters, you'll probably know that my style of garden is to use lots of evergreens, hardy and half hardy, with that tropical look and feel to sort of keep the garden looking relatively decent all year round. Obviously it looks much better in the summer when we can add all them beautiful colourful tenders which give it that real sort of wow factor. But I do like the garden to have a sort of visual look that looks half decent most of the year round. But what I've been noticing over the last few winters is the one thing that most definitely lets the garden down every single winter. It does recover in the spring and the summer, but it's the lawn. Now I've got quite a large circular lawn which the plants surround, and I do like that big open space that sort of means whichever direction I look, I'm surrounded by tropical style plants. But I've been thinking, I think I'm going to reduce the size of the lawn, because there's a few things that I found from doing tours of some of these really beautiful gardens out there that are on my channel. One of the things that I love is the sense of journey that some of these gardens have. The idea that you can walk down these paths or through these sort of plants and not know what's coming up and what's next. Now I have some pathways going down to the bottom to a gazebo area, and I am going to hopefully put a pond down there this year, but I feel like I have too big an open space now. Originally I made this lawn big because I had children that still like to play football, soccer if you're in the US, and I wanted to keep this area still for them to play. That hasn't changed in the sense that I still want to keep a good sized lawn, but because it gets messed up so often, I do want to replace it this year. I'm going to returf it, but I thought about round this side of the lawn. You can see I've been messing about with some Bruce spray paint, marker paint on the grass to get an idea. I feel like I'm probably going to build a path that's going to go round here. This might not be the exact shape, I'm still playing around with it to see what looks round, and then it's going to go off to that path down to the back gazebo, and it will also join in and go into that one there. So I have a bit more sense of journey in the garden, and also by having a path that goes around this side. This side is my shady side, so the grass gets very mossy. Even if I try treating it, it's just more hassle than it's worth. So I think I'm probably going to put these cobbles that I've got down here and extend them round. I think I may also, I've not totally decided yet, but I may take the left cobble off and the right cobble off, both sides, the two rows, just to make these a little bit thinner so I can get a bit more plants just overgrowing the edges. But what this will do, by making this path go all the way around this side, I can then also reduce the size of the overall circle. So if I just zoom out a little bit, what that's going to allow, if you can sort of see the circle that I've marked, like I say, this may not be the exact size, I'm still playing with it. What that's going to allow me is on this side, all this extra planting space, which will be massive for me, because under here, under these large shrubs, it's very, very hard for me to get anything to grow really, really well. But what this will allow is by putting lots of real sun loving plants, maybe agaves, stuff like that, if I raise it, it's going to allow me to get much more depth to this planting all the way around here. And I would rather that, if I'm being honest, than a bigger lawn. And the other thing is, so also, yeah, that would happen on the other side. That will widen up that border on the side of that path and allow me to do a little bit more with maybe putting a water feature in there or whatever. Yeah, it's just, I'm really excited about the idea of doing this. It's personally not that big a project for me. I'm a landscape gardener, so it's when I can find the time to do it, plus the budget, because I've talked about in previous videos about doing a pond down the bottom, and realistically I don't want to go doing this and putting a nice new lawn in and then digging the pond out, because then I'm going to have to be going backwards and forwards all the way around, over across the grass, over the path, whichever. So food for thought. I think I'm in my head, I'm looking at making lots of changes, and quite expensive changes with the pond and that at the bottom, and some major landscaping. But my own brain just needs to keep this garden moving on, changing. I've got so many more evergreen plants that I'm hoping to put in, different, more unusual plants to keep this sort of all year round look. But I do also want some spaces for them cannas, the bananas, and other tender plants as well, to give that sort of wow factor. So I feel like by doing this project, I'm going to be able to keep the grass in better condition, because it's going to be slightly smaller. I'm going to have a path, so I don't have to keep walking over it, which, as you can see here, is becoming quite a problem every time I go to the bottom of the garden now, especially because in the UK we have quite wet winters. So this path around here would really, really make a difference to that. I could also put some better drainage into this lawn, nice new fresh grass. It would get slightly more winter sun, which hopefully would help with the moss side of it, and just make it, you know, the grass is quite a big feature in my garden, and a lot of people would sort of see that as a big part of my garden as well. I do not want to lose that. I like the design aspect of the circular shapes. I am not committing to it yet, because there's definitely going to be changes made that I am going to commit to, but whether it definitely stays circular, I've got drawing pads inside, and I've been doing different shapes and different things to see which works best. But I've also got to think a little bit about the budget. There's going to be like some quite major works. I've got to rethatch the gazebo at the bottom. I've got to build the pond, pumps, filters, rocks, and that's something that I'm definitely wanting to do as well while I'm at the mention. I've spoken about in previous videos about changing the style of the planting to be a bit more natural, and I love the idea of using rocks in the garden. I have got it in various places around the borders. I use some of this Welsh slate rocks in the garden, and I like the idea of using some more of them rocks around the boundaries, and I think they add a little bit of character. And with my style of gardening, where I want it to look good most of the year round, there's landscaping helps the garden look good all year round. If you've got an aesthetically pleasing path, if you've got a nice looking structure, something like that, they add interest to your garden all year round. You don't always notice them as much in the summer, when the other plants are grown up and around them, but in the winter they can be an extra sort of bit of interest and character to the garden. The same as using pots and things like that, statues, stuff. Looking for that stuff that adds that all year round interest, which is my style of gardening. It can be a little frustrating come summer because I don't always have the space that I want to add plants like insect bananas and stuff like that, but I do need to find the balance. So if you'd like me to do videos, I try to keep it very much about the plants and the design and what I think makes gardens look nice. But if you want me to do a video, some of the processes in building these paths, if that's the way I go about it, building the pond, please leave it in the comments. I'd like to know your thoughts on the situation. Like I say, I am a landscape gardener, but I don't want to make my videos about landscaping. My ideas is to inspire more people to do this style of gardening, to have a little bit more confidence in it. And that's why I like to use a lot of these evergreen types of plants, because I think a lot of people that are new to this think it sort of is so much hard work. You have to protect everything. Well, 80% of my garden stays out all year round. So for me, that's not the case. I live in Peterborough, which is sort of North Cambridgeshire. I can get temperatures down to sort of -10 Celsius. You know, we can get them bad winters that can do some damage, but in general, most of these plants can look good all year round, can be relatively hardy and survive all but the worst winters. And with these great nurseries we've got in the UK now, more and more unusual types of plants are coming out, and I look forward to more and more being grown in my garden, to be fair. So I'm going to leave it at that. If you're watching this today or in the next few days, hope you have a good new year. Got loads and loads of plans for next year, video tours, some more gardens to go and see, revisits of ones I've seen in the past, plus projects that I'm doing myself. And I'd like to share that with you. Please press the subscribe button if you haven't and you want to carry on. I don't put out content all the time because I don't want to talk about the same old rubbish all the time. I try to make it different every time. It's not always possible, but that is my plan, to keep it a little bit more interesting, and hopefully inspire more people to give it a go in colder climates and try tropical style gardening. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.